Mic check, mic check. Good morning. Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is Friday. It's actually Friday the 13th. Today is Friday the 13th. It's June. We do have consumer sentiment today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also had some news in the overnight session that ended up dropping the markets back down in towards key levels of support. So far, you can see we are getting bought up. Higher time frames are still intact on the daily chart along with the 1 hour chart as well. We actually broke underneath it's Mondays and Tuesdays low. So we'll take a look at some of the levels I will look for coming into today. As for the overall market in itself, as for the ES as well, right, we're getting bought up. So we'll talk about this here in a bit. Good morning. What's up, everyone? Good morning, Steven. JT. I realized I didn't have my webcam, but that's fine. What's up, B Roots? Nathaniel. Good morning. Ryan, KO, Daniela, Martin, Bench, Darth. Good morning, Henry, Robert, Monty, Shedrick. Good morning, Paul, Melissa. I'll talk about gold in a bit. What's up, Daniel, Jeff, Paul, Andreas, Rick, Mozzie, Wayne. Good morning, Darth. Morning, Lauren, Cuba, Katrina, Orlando, Marie, Envision, Ashley, Deuce, Vamp. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's go on to the major indices. We'll talk about what happened overnight, and then we'll talk about some of the levels that we're looking at coming into today here as well. So, first things first, let's kind of go on to the daily chart here. So for on the daily chart, this is what I see here on the ES along with, we're going to go into the SPY and NQ as well. My levels for the overall markets I like to see it gravitate towards is still going to be this all-time highs. That's going to be my draw for markets to push higher. So any sort of dip that we do get on the overall markets, I do expect to get bought up. So coming into today here, we did have some news in the overnight session that ended up dropping the market. Now we're actually just bouncing off of key levels of support. We'll see how this daily candle closes, but what I would like to see eventually is the market slowly gravitate back up and towards this all-time highs. So if we go into lower time frames here, let's go on to the 1 hour chart. So the 1 hour chart for me, the key levels that I have marked out is number one, we have your this week's lows, which was originally your Mondays, your Tuesdays lows. We also had a bounce here yesterday, which was at our 5992. So this was the key level for us yesterday. This is the level that we ended up bouncing from off of PPI. We ended up having a nice push all the way back towards the upside towards your Tuesday's highs. And you can see this is actually the area that we rejected at. So markets, right, nice and bullish, continuation towards the upside. And then we ended up having some news that dropped the market. So we had news in the after hours regarding the attack on Israel from Iran, and that ended up dropping the market decent amount, right? We ended up dropping over 2% on the ES. We end up dropping SPY here as well. So we end up breaking underneath your lows that we created yesterday, and then we end up driving all the way back down in towards our 5930. So this is our last week pivot level, our 5930. You can see the buyers are stepping in right off this level, and we're actually right back at the area where we were yesterday. So if we were to mark out this area for the ES, in my opinion, it's going to be very hard to short unless we are underneath now. It's going to be this 5992. This 5992 is an area where potentially could be interested in continuation towards the downside. But for me, the overall market is still very much bullish. I'd much rather look to buy dips for continuation back towards the upside. So for the ES, the best areas for dips of course is going to be your 5930. This was your double bottom that you can see we created here in the market. Now that we're actually reclaiming back above your previous day lows, what I would like to see now is the consolidation, reclaim, and then we end up having this push back up in towards the highs. Currently, we're just right back in towards equilibrium when we had that news event that did drop the market. as you can see, we basically have a 50% retracement. So we're back into your lows that we created this week. We're back into your previous day lows. There's a good chance coming into this morning, at least for the first 15 to 30 minutes, we're most likely just going to consolidate because we do have consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. as well. So we will just be patient, at least this morning after that big news event that we had overnight. And now you can see we're bouncing in the pre-market. We're just going to wait for consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. and then wait for the next reaction here on the markets. So if I go on to now the lower time frames here, we'll go into the 15-minute. Key levels is going to be your previous day lows. That is going to be key for continuation. So if we consolidate in this general area, but we maintain above your previous day lows, we can expect this to continue back towards the highs. If we end up rejecting off your previous day lows, getting back underneath, there is a possibility for a short position. I don't think it's going to make a new low for the week, right? Just based off of the higher time frames, the support bounce that we had, unless consumer sentiment comes in bad, right? There's unlikelihood that we are going to make a new low or now make a new high for the week. So for the ES, those are the levels that I do have. Let's go on to the SPY chart. As for the SPY, the key levels that we do have is number one are 591. Now we also have your previous day lows marked out in the pre-market as well. So for the ES chart, it's good to see all the information. The ES ended up bouncing off of our May the 5th lows, which was all the way back down towards our 591. In this case, you're not going to see that information here on the SPY chart. So right here, you could just see it's right back in towards your previous day lows in the pre-market, along with your Tuesday's lows in the pre-market, and then your Monday's key pivot level here as well. So for the SPY, coming into today, what we'd like to see is the reaction that we have off of our 598. Currently, we are underneath your previous day lows. So if markets do want to stay heavy, potentially get back underneath your 598, we can see a mean reversion, a little bit of a drop down in towards our 596 and maybe your 595. As for upside, what we like to see now is the consolidation, break and hold above your lows that we created yesterday in the pre-market for a push back up in towards our 600 key level. And then, right, we're going to have a really big gap back up in towards our 602. So those are the levels we have on SPY coming into today. Basically the exact same levels as yesterday, 598 on SPY. And for the ES, it's going to be our 5992. Now let's go on to the QQQ. So QQQ, similar thing here. If we go on to the daily chart very much still intact. Every dip getting bought up so far. What I would report that you can see the markets are bouncing off of. So you can see touch here. And we also have another touch here as well. So coming into today, as you can see for the NQ, a little bit weaker than the SPY. Similar thing to at least the ES yesterday, gravitated back towards your Tuesday's highs. We had somewhat of a head and shoulders here, and then we also had news that ended up dropping the markets towards the downside. So for the NQ, key levels that we have marked out was our Tuesday's highs. You can see we dropped, we braked underneath a bunch of key levels. The next logical level, I mentioned this was the short that I would be interested in yesterday, was the break underneath your pre-market lows, underneath your Tuesday's lows and Monday's lows for a push down in towards our 21,560. Of course, a lot of these moves have been happening in the pre-market and in the after hours as well. Is there a lag? Yeah, that's I'm not sure why that's doing that. I might have to reset my internet, but it's so weird. I'm gonna have to figure out the problem. But yeah, I don't think I can do anything right now. But as for the, yeah, if the audio's cutting in and out, you can try and reset the stream. Usually that works. So if you reset the stream, my internet should be fine. It's just I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, I just have to reset it. I probably haven't in a while. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't last too long. There's only lag on mobile. Is that the case? Yeah, I'm not sure if I can reset it here. But yeah, as for the key levels on NQ, what we have here is our 21,760. So our 21,760 here is going to be our key point of interest. If we reject off our 27 our 21,760. We can see a little bit of retracement back towards the downside, right? This is going to be your previous day lows along with our Mondays and Tuesdays lows. So this is going to be the best area you're going to be looking for a short position on the NQ. If you're looking for longs, this is your best long area, or now you'd be waiting for, right, the reclaim, hold above your 21,760 for this pushback towards the upside here on the NQ. So those are the levels I have marked out today. We have your 21,760 along with your 21,560. Let's go on to the QQQ. So for the QQQ, similar thing to the SPY here. What we have marked out is going to be our 529, along with our 522. So for the overall markets here on the QQQ, you can see this is our Tuesday's lows along with your Monday's lows, and then Friday's lows of last week here as well. Another touch here in the pre-market yesterday. So for the QQQ coming into today, what we'd like to see is a reaction off of our 25.2850. If we reject off this level, there's a possibility that we continue back down in towards your pre-market lows here on the QQQ. If we can reclaim back above your 528, you can also see a push back up in towards, now it's going to be your previous day low all the way back towards your 531. So for the Qs, we'll see what shapes up within the first 30 minutes because we do have consumer sentiment. I am much interested in trading the long side just because the overall market is bullish. This is the first kind of major pullback here on the Qs. We'll see if we can now gravitate back up and towards your 531, your previous day lows. The only way I do look for a short is if there's a strong reaction right off the bat. If we have really sellers that kind of step in off of our previous day low levels, this is also your low risk here as well if the market does want to gravitate back towards the downside. So those are the levels I have for the major indices coming into today. QQQ, your 528.50s. We have our 522s towards the downside. SPY 598 and 595. And then for the NQ, 21,550 along with your 21,750. ES, right, 5930, and then your 5992. All right, let's go on to some of the tech names that we have coming into today here. Let's first talk about Tesla. So Tesla's key levels that we have coming into this morning is going to be your 318 previous day lows. So previous day lows is going to be key here. As for Tesla, you can see a little bit of a gap down. We end up having a nice rally, just was not able to get back above our key levels, which is our 328. End up selling off later into close as the markets was rising, right? Tesla was dropping. Now you can see we're just kind of back in towards the areas right after having this big day where we end up dropping with Trump and Elon, right? We end up gravitating back towards the upside. Now, key levels that we have marked out is going to be this 318 along with our 305 here for Tesla. So these are the levels I have marked out. I'm also going to mark out our 310 here as well, which is our low that we created on Tuesday. So we can go back onto the lower time frames here. Let me kind of just zoom in. As for Tesla coming into today, what I'd like to see is just the reaction that we have off 318 along with our 310. So it's just based off of intraday price action. If you come up in towards your previous day lows and reject, we can see just a mean reversion in between our 318 and our 310. As for potential bounce play, I'd much rather be interested in the kind of the reclaim above your 318. You could also be looking for the bounce off of 310 for our mean reversion back up and towards your previous day lows. Tesla, in my opinion, now with this gap down, we're just kind of in the middle of nowhere. We could be interested. I'm actually more interested in a short on this one off of your previous day lows, but Tesla fairly neutral. We're just kind of back inside the range now, the level that we had on Tuesday. And we also bounced off a mini level of support, which is your Tuesday's low here on this name. Let's go on to Nvidia. So Nvidia, key levels that we have marked out on this name was our flat top. So coming into today and moving forward on Nvidia, if I remove a few levels here, what we have is still, right, this wedge pattern that we're forming. So as you can see here for Nvidia, we have a lot of consolidation, right? This is the top of the range. What we want to see happen was a break above your 145. 145 was the level we want to see continuation and a hold above. Now, if we go back onto the lower time frames, key levels that we like to see, as I mentioned, a break and hold above our 145. Break and hold above our 145 on the daily chart. I want to see continuation towards the upside. Now you can see a big gap down on Nvidia. Now we're just right back in towards equilibrium, our 142. So now what we're just going to have marked out is basically this box. So we have this box drawn out from 145 all the way back down towards your 140. We have the equilibrium, which is our 142 here. Now what we like to see is just the reaction that we have really off the top of the range, the bottom of the range, along with equilibrium. So for Nvidia, I'm more bullish on this name. Key levels that we have drawn out is now going to be your pre-market highs. Above your pre-market highs, we can see a push back up in towards your 144 and potentially above being your 146. If we end up rejecting off of your pre-market highs along with the pivot level from yesterday, we could just see a little bit of consolidation back down in towards your 142. I'd much rather be interested in looking for the position and kind of the mean reversion back towards the upside, or we're going to be looking for the bounce off of your 142 for a move back towards the highs here as well. So for Nvidia, these are the levels you're going to have marked out on the chart. Let's go on to the next chart that we have here as well, which is Apple. So Apple finally showing a little bit of buyers kind of stepping in after taking out this low here from Friday, May the 30th. You can see it dropped in the after hours, and now you can see it's getting bought up here in the pre-market, showing some strength. So Apple's going to be one of my main watches today, just based off the strength here in the pre-market. The levels I'm going to have marked out on Apple, let's actually just redo some of the levels here. Number one, it's going to be this 200 key psych. And this is actually just the level I like to see it get above. So we like to see it get above now. It's going to be our 200 key psych along with our previous day highs here as well. A break above your previous day highs and a break above this 200. I like to see this continue push towards the upside. At least what I like to see, a little bit more consolidation and then kind of this push back up in towards 200 and above. So we'll keep an eye out on Apple. We can actually mark out this level here as well, previous day highs along with your 199.50s. So we have actually two key levels. We have this level 200 and then we have your 199.50s. So we'll have those marked out on Apple. As for Microsoft, we can still expect this one to continue back towards the upside above your 473, continuation back towards 475 here and above. As for a few other names here, Meta, this one's pulling back just a little bit. Now we're actually using this level as resistance. This was our previous level of resistance turned into support, turned back into resistance here. Now you can see a little bit of reaction overnight. Now we're just coming back into key levels of support here in the pre-market. So for Meta, I would like to see now, just kind of the bounce, hold of your 680 for this push back up in towards your previous day low 688. For Google, a little bit of a drop here as well, breaking back underneath your 177. Not too much to talk about on this name. Amazon, a lot of these pullbacks here, these pullbacks are good for the overall markets, right? We're still bullish on the NQ along with the ES. So any of these tech names that do pull back, they're just going to be in good areas for eventually a push back up and towards your all-time highs. At least now for Amazon, we're just coming back after getting back underneath this 214. We're just back into the area that we also broke out from, which is our 209. So for Amazon, I do expect just a little bit of a mean reversion, most likely just back towards your previous day lows here, or 212. As for AMD, similar thing here. What I like to see was the hold of your 120. Now we broke underneath your 120. We're right back down in towards a key level of support, 116. I like to see kind of the buyer step in, just push it back up in towards your 118. For AMD, I'm not really interested in too many short positions today, just because the overall market did end up having a very nice bounce off key levels of support. Only way, as I mentioned, if I do go short is if there's a sharp reaction on the on the Qs, and then the SPY ends up getting back underneath this 598. And then for Netflix, key levels that we do have marked out is going to be our 112.11, you can be looking for opportunities around this general area on this name. So coming into today, we do have, as I mentioned, consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. That's most likely what I am going to be waiting for, at least to start off the day once the market does open. As for my top watches, I'm really focused on the major indices coming into today, right? SPY and Qs are going to be the main ones to keep an eye out on. As for the rest of the tech names, we'll keep an eye out on Tesla here off of our previous day lows are 317. As for Nvidia, I'm actually interested in trading this back towards the upside. You can see if we're looking at this week's price action, we actually haven't done too much. This is your Monday's price action. We have Tuesday, Wednesday, and now we have Friday. You can see the range is fairly tight this week. We haven't had a clear direction on most of these tech names. We've just been, right, kind of rejecting off of our Monday's highs. We just have not been able to make a new high for the week. And then now, right, we kind of created a low yesterday. I don't expect it to make a new high or make a new low coming into Friday. If anything, we could potentially make a new high if we can show some strength, but most likely we're just going to be inside of this range here on Nvidia. So we're just going to be looking for really key levels, in this case 142 along with our 144. So really these are the levels we like to participate and be looking for, right? Either pops for continuation back towards the downside, or you're going to be looking for bounces off key levels of support. So that's what we have on Nvidia. And then the rest of the names, I'll actually keep an eye out on Apple today. This one's at the low of the range. After breaking our 200 key psych, gravitated down in towards our 196. This is also, if we're looking at Apple here on the higher time frames, higher lows are being built. What I like to see is buyers start stepping in off 196. Let's see if we can reverse price back up in towards our 206 here. So that's what we have for Apple. I would like to see the reclaim back above our previous day highs. And then we also have, as I mentioned, this 200 key psych level here as well. So at least my top watches, we'll talk about them a little bit more here in about 20 minutes, but it's going to be Apple showing a little bit of strength here in the pre-market. We'll see if Nvidia can get back above your pre-market highs. In this case, now it's not your pre-market highs, but it's our 143. And then what else I'll be keeping an eye out on is going to be the major indices Qs 528.50s along with the SPY 598. Okay, if you guys do have any charts here as well, you guys can drop them in the chat and I'll take a look at them. And grab some water here. Alrighty. Yeah, hopefully it's fixed now. They don't want us teaching us. Yes, had to close and reopen yesterday and today to stop from cutting out. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. I think it's just if it lags out or if it has like a frames that drop, then to reset it, you basically just have to refresh the stream. It shouldn't be my desktop, like sell my PC. Yeah, no, I literally have like the best PC. I think it has to do with my internet or OBS. I don't know, something's glitching. What expirations do you usually choose with options? 0 days, 1 day out, or 7? Usually trade weekly calls, expire on Friday. If I'm trading the major indices, I'll trade futures primarily. If I'm trading the tech names or anything else, I'll trade weekly expirations on Friday. Usually one out the money, or one with most volume. All right, let me go on to some names here. Do you ever trade crypto? No, I don't trade crypto actively. I have some crypto long term, but that's about it. Do you ever look at volume of puts to judge a trade on people's puts? Maybe, are you talking about like flow? I'll look at that if I maybe have a higher time frame thesis, but if I'm trading intraday, it's just strictly based off of technicals. All right, let me go over some names. Amazon went over that. MU. All right, so for MU, key levels that we have established here is this level. So at least if we're on the daily chart, we can mark out this huge zone that we have, which is our 112. This is the level we like to see hold and buyers kind of step in. This is a solid area that most people are going to take profits at as well. So after having this daily breakout, we end up having a nice push people are taking profits above your 115. Now what I'd like to see is really a base above your 115 for this next leg back towards the upside here. So for looking at MU, at least coming into today, key levels that we have marked out, let me just get rid of this. It's going to be number one, what we have is your Monday's pivot point. So you have your Monday's pivot high, and then we also have a few other levels here as well, which is going to be your Tuesday's high. So for MU, we're now gravitating back down in towards your Monday's highs. This is the level we like to see hold 112.48 for a push back up in towards our 115 here on MU. So really these are the levels we have. Very bullish on the 1 hour chart. We already took out one of our major objectives, which is our consolidation period all the way back from, let's go back into the daily chart, all the way back from September of last year. So this is the key level that we have marked out. Adobe. As for Adobe, this one just had earnings recently here as well. Key levels that we have marked out is going to be this key pivot point, which is our 405. Currently, you can see dropping here in the pre-market. We're now breaking back underneath your 405. We're gravitating back down in towards our 396. Next levels on the daily chart, if we break underneath 396, is going to be this daily gap 392. So for for Adobe, key levels we'd like to see hold is your 396. If we're unable to hold your 396, next level of support going to be the top of this daily gap 392 on this ticker. So keep an eye out on your 396 coming into today. As for a few other tickers here, QUBT, nice kind of daily breakout and continuation back towards the upside here. Now the key levels that we like to see hold is going to be our 1650. So if we go back onto the 1 hour chart, key levels that we have marked out coming into this week, if I were to draw brand new levels, is just all old highs that turn into support. So I marked this out, right? We had our daily high turn into support, another daily high turning into support, and now you can see what I want to see hold is your 1760. So a little bit of a bigger level here, but we can draw this out. This is the level I'd like to see hold now, 1716 for this continued push back towards the upside. So hold of this level, a reclaim now back above our 1750, can push this back up in towards our 1850 and 19. If we consolidate, get back underneath, next levels is going to be our 15 key psych. NVTS, I've talked about this name for quite a bit here as well, right? Daily chart is still very much intact. We're getting back underneath this 8 key psych level. This is really the level I'd like to see hold now. So what we have a few levels, right? 8 key psych. Now we also have really this level here as well, which is going to be our 720. We can mark this out. 720 is a key level, just multiple touches, also equilibrium here as well. So for NVTS, we like to see buyers kind of step in off of your Monday's price action. This is a key level once we had that pop. Now what we like to see is reclaim back above our 790s for this pushback towards the upside. So if we go into lower time frames, NVTS, we can even mark out other levels. We're going to have to get above, right, number one, 760s for a push up and towards your 790s. And then maybe potentially later into the session, right, break back above your 790s. So that's what we have for NVTS. We can also draw it, right, intraday levels. In this case, draw this and drag this one over, right, 760s here on NVTS. All right, let's go over a few other ones. AVGO. AVGO recently hit all-time highs. We also had earnings that dropped it towards the downside. Now we end up having this nice push towards the upside yesterday, right off our key levels 250 for a push back up and towards our 255 here and above. Now you can see, right, nice push on AVGO towards the upside right off of our 250 key level. Now it ended up dropping here in the pre-market with this news and this gap down. So for AVGO now, key levels of support is going to be our 250 along with our resistance 255. In between these areas, there's a decent amount of volume, so I'm not really too interested in trading it if it's in the middle, but you could be looking for opportunities around 255 along with our 250 here. SBET. So for this name, this one had earnings. or actually it did not have earnings. I thought this one had earnings. So I guess this one did not have earnings, and we're just gapping down here, filling the gap all the way back towards the downside. So for SBET, if we look at this on the 1 hour chart, this is originally where we gapped up from, right? Original gap up. We had our clear level of support being our 28. You can see some buyers kind of stepped in off this general area, and now you can see pop being shorted with news here in the pre-market all the way back down in towards the original area where we gapped up from. So that is our full gap fill. This is something you can expect to pop and just fade right back down in towards our 680 here on SBET. As for Coinbase, so Coinbase, a little bit of reaction, just not able to get above our 270. We also have our levels of support now being our daily gap. So for Coinbase, what we like to see now is a hold of our daily gap being our 232. So if you go back onto the 1 hour chart, 232 key level support for me, daily gap that I'd like to see hold on Coin. This is really our last level of support. So I'd like to see the buyers really step in off this daily gap. We also have other levels here as well. We could be looking for the reclaim back above your 242. All right, as for a few other tickers, let me go on gold. Yeah, so for gold, I've been talking about this one for a minute now. I'd like to see it push back up and towards your all-time highs. Key levels, really nice reaction off the major levels we've been talking about. Our 3347. Once we got back above, nice retest, continuation higher. Next logical levels is our 3400 and this 3435 that we ended up hitting here yesterday and now in the overnight session here as well. For gold, what I would like to see is now the push back up and towards your all-time highs, 3500 for on the 1 hour chart. What I'd like to see is right break above, hold of your 3435, and then right eventual push up and towards your 3500. Microsoft, RGTI, QBTS. For RGTI, you can see filled the gap here, a couple reactions on the lower time frames. Now we're just coming right back towards the downside here. For RGTI, really not too much to talk about. Key levels of support all the way back down in towards our 1080s. So far, we're kind of rejecting off this 1280 key pivot level, and now we're right back down in towards our 1180s, which is the middle of 1080 along with 1280. So for RGTI, you could be looking for the reaction that we have just off this general area, 1180s, right? You could be looking for the bounce, mean reversion back up in towards your 1260s, or you could be looking for the rejection back down in towards your 1080. Okay, let's see. Can you draw out a weekly box around where it broke out from for the week, whether it made a new high or low? Yeah, so when you ever draw out a weekly box where you can box in last week's price action, you can do this, you can do its previous days, you can do it in the pre-market. It's just kind of boxing out, right, wherever area or range that you're dealing with. All right, let me kind of scroll down here as well. Jack, if we miss the entry at the first key level, can we essentially run the same strategy at the next key level, breaking retest for high of day? Yes, you can use order blocks as long as the draw of liquidity maintains and your key targets have been unmitigated, so you haven't hit one of your key objectives. It's best to, right, if you're looking for a later entry, either size down or look for, right, a low risk entry after, but it's the same thing. Scroll down MSTR. It seems like today will be higher and end up green, right? Apple bounces higher. As for Apple, for the overall indices, we're down about 1% in the pre-market here. So we're down quite a bit. I don't think we could potentially end green on the day, but a red to green move is fairly far away for a Friday. So it'd have to reclaim back above our 528 and push all the way back up and towards your daily close, which is our 533.50. So it is fairly far away. I don't think it'll end green for the day. Most likely it will end red unless we have a strong reclaim right off the bat, right within the first 5 minutes, show a lot of strength, and then we end up just grinding higher for the rest of the day. Palantir, I think SPY today will be very, yeah, I'm at least on the higher time frames, I've been bullish, right? The thesis, moving forward, or at least the past few months and moving forward, we should expect the markets to gravitate towards all-time highs, right? Every dip that comes into the markets, we like to see it get bought up. As for Palantir, this one is holding our previous all-time highs yesterday, just consolidating above our 135. Now you can see a little bit of a drop here in the pre-market. Reclaim above your 135 is going to ignite this move back towards the upside. If you reject off your 135, you can see a little bit more consolidation here on Palantir. So we like to see the reclaim 135. Okay, let me kind of scroll down here as well. Let's see. Who's copying my reaction? Yeah. All right. I'll go over a couple more names here, and then I will get ready for market open. You guys have a lot of tickers today. Carvana, this one, right? Key levels eventually going to be your all-time highs. As for Carvana, this one can pull back all the way back in towards our levels of support, right? 292, and continue back up and towards your all-time highs. If you go back onto the daily chart here, key levels is going to be this right here, right? 290s. This is really the best level of support that we're going to be looking for. We also have another level of support, which is our 310. Really, 290s is the area we like to see buyers step in off of. For Carvana, now what we like to see is, right, to see if there's any sort of reaction around this 112 level for a potential mini bounce back up and towards your 320, right? So what I'd like to see, at least moving forward, is, right, the bounce here and then create a lower high, and then, right, buyers to step in off of your 292. So that's what we have for Carvana. As for Disney, this one's breaking out. Next key levels that we have is going to be your 123. We also have marked out here, which is our 118. So for Disney, nice push towards the upside this week, up and towards our 118. Next levels that we do have is going to be the reclaim back above your 118.50s if you want to see a push higher. So for Disney, we like to see the reclaim back above your 118.50 for a push back towards your 120.50. As for MP Materials, this one's showing some nice strength here in the after hours. Not sure if it has to do with any sort of news that we did have overnight, or it says in this case with the China deal with the US. In this case, key levels that we have marked out is going to be your 29 key level. So this is the exact level we ended up driving from yesterday. Also your previous day highs here as well. So what we like to see is now the hold of your 29.60s for this continued push back towards the upside. So that's what we have here for MP. Now we like to see the reaction that we have about 32.50. Okay, I guess someone was spamming BA, but BA, yeah, buyers kind of stepped in yesterday, offer 196. What I would like to see now here on BA is really just the hold of your 198 for this push back up and towards your two previous day highs and potentially your 208. At least that's what I have for BA. Circle. I'm not sure if this is what I think this is. Like, is this a Circle platform that I personally use? I'm not sure if it is, but Circle was a fresh IPO that we had recently this week. I'm actually going to search that up. I'm actually curious. But for Circle, right, nice push right off the bat. Sorry, this was last week. Now you can see this area is the area that you like to see hold, right? 103. 103, multiple touches. You like to see this level hold for continuation back towards the upside. If we end up breaking back underneath, right, we could see a little bit more of a mean reversion back down in towards really 90 and potentially your IPO low, which is all the way back towards the downside. So that's the levels that we have for Circle. That's the key levels you want to mark out coming into today. I mentioned that's like someone spammed it, but yeah, someone's spamming costs. You know what? I'll go over it. Yeah, don't spam the chart. It makes me not want to go over it, but you know, I'll go over it real quick. Yeah, I mean, Costco, not too much. Really, you kind of had this big pop higher, right, due to earnings. And now you can see we're just back. You're just consolidating weekly time frame. Still very bullish here on Costco. Key levels that we have is now just going to be your earnings low. So we have your earnings low marked out along with your earnings high. We also just took out your earnings low. So in this case, now you can expect a little bit of a mean reversion after taking out your earnings low. Potential bounce back up and towards your 10-15 here on Costco. Yeah, that is going to be it for me today. Sorry if I didn't go over your ticker. There's just too many in the chat. As for the overall game plan coming into this morning, we do have consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So just going to wait for 10 a.m. to develop after this big move overnight. Lately, nothing's really been happening within the first 15 to 30 minutes, regardless. So we've just been waiting for 10 a.m. to come around as well, just to see if there's a trend in the overall markets. Similar thing today. Gonna wait for 10 a.m. We'll see the reaction that we have off your 528. This is the level if we want to see some more shorts towards the downside. If you want to see a pushback higher, reclaim back above your 528. If you look at SPY, key levels is going to be this 598. I'm a little bit more bullish on SPY here just because we reclaim back above your key levels. 598 is going to be key here on SPY. As for the rest of the tickers, as I mentioned, I do like Nvidia if you can get back above your 143. A lot more range on this one, so it's just a mean reversion. I do like Apple. So Apple is showing the most strength here coming into the pre-market with kind of this bounce from your 196. So we'll keep an eye out on Apple right off the bat, just because it has a lot of volatility so far here in the pre-market. And then we'll also keep an eye out on a few other tickers like... Actually, Apple is really the best looking ticker. So we'll focus in on Apple and the major indices coming today. And we'll also keep an eye out on just Tesla and Nvidia. So the usual. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. I'm going to get ready for market open. Hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend as well. If you guys did enjoy this, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like and sub. And I will see you guys all Monday morning. All right. Take care, everyone.